I told you the story yesterday about the DMV. I developed that calendar skill because I was born into a family that didn't speak English. I became bilingual, but it wasn't until that moment that it became a calendar skill, right? Before I was just like talking to my grandmother, I don't know, hanging out with my grandfather, them telling me what to do in the store, right? That's not really a talent skill. The moment it turns into talent skill is when I start to be able to have impact. And even better, when it starts to have milestones. So that was one instance. But after that, when I started going to parent-teacher conferences of my cousins and my siblings, actually, eventually I started going to like the whole community's parent-teacher conferences because one family told the other family, like, take Sally because she's good at talking to. If your kid gets in trouble at school, take Sally because she can talk them out of it, right? I was like 12 at the time, but the same thing's true. I'm developing a skill, right? And then after that, it was like, okay, so bills are here. Can you read the bills and can you write the checks? Can you set up the online things? Eventually, now I like set up my parents' Netflix accounts or whatever. But more importantly, the more and more milestones you have, the more and more impact it has, right? So I started doing like the financial plans and the wealth management kind of stuff for my family, and then other families is like I also do funerals, stuff like that, like major milestone stuff. So you want to have that progression. Okay, calendar skill essay. That's that. I'm going to read through some later on so you see it. Okay, probably most of you in here will do either this one or this one. And sometimes people think they're the same, but they're actually not. The community service versus the leadership. How have you contributed to your school or community, and then how have you swayed leadership? Now, this one is worth more, and this one you can use on private school applications because this is asked for private school applications than this one. This one, though, requires something more, and that's why it's worth more. So your leadership has to have impact. Impact is not, so let's say you're in AAA, and you're in the cabinet, and you do a Super Sunday, and you do a, I don't know, a senior event and a kid event. That's not leadership, even if you're a cabinet member, because you were just there. If the true leadership is measured by what was the impact. So given CCDC, AAA, how has you being there, specifically you, made a difference on the entire program? What was did you see more students? Did you write the curriculum and you were able to see from one Sunday to the next Sunday because you did better marketing or something, more people came? Without those numbers of impact and over a long period of time, don't write leadership essay. Leadership essay requires metrics and it requires impact. So, what's a good example of this? Kai, last year, and Wayland. They started an English club with SRO kids because they wanted to get better at spoken English and conversational English, and they wanted to expand their vocabularies. So Kai and Wayland got the TOEFL, the test for English proficiency. They asked me to get a deck of the top vocabulary words asked on the TOEFL, and they asked me how to structure classes. And I told them the best thing to do is to watch Friends and then discuss episodes of Friends and to read a book together. I told them to watch, to read Hunger Games because it's kind of middle school level, and then have discussions about it, and then track it. How many chapters did they read? How many discussions did you have? From the beginning, when you tested them on the TOEFL, what was their level of reading comprehension and vocabulary? At the end, how many more words did they know, and how much more had they read, and how was their reading comprehension? Having those impact numbers shows leadership. Also, how is this different than before? Well, the English club didn't exist before, so now something exists, right? So when you this is a main way that we separate bullshit and leadership. So many people will have some random president, treasurer, secretary. There's so many different titles people have. I really don't care about the title. I care about milestones, numbers, and impact. The last part of this that I want for the leadership essay is always, what happened when you left? Did you train somebody to take it over? Is there now something that will have greater impact than before? That's sketchy.
Is that not right? For you?
Well, generally you take that not in the crowd of people. Up there, so in case you're positive you're not hanging out.
I don't think so.
Okay. So measuring impact. Also, you want to talk about what you learned. Right? It's not like I did this, right? I want to know the process. Because the process will enable me to sniff out whether or not it was bullshit. Okay, so at the back there, are you a AAA?
Yeah.
Do you have a position?
No.
No. What do you do in AAA?
I just occasionally go.
You occasionally come.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the thing. So you would not do this essay, right? If you were to do it, you would do this essay. However, I occasionally come doesn't even qualify for this. Because community service, you part of the whole community service essay is if you came, and you don't have to be the leader, but if you came, it's like, what did you contribute? How was it different that you were there? What did you learn? What did you decide you want to do next? What was your next step? That's the community service essay. If you can, write this one. If you can't write this one, write this one. If you can't, if all you did was show up, don't stay away from this whole category. Because actually, if you do this and it sounds really bullshitty, it works against you, right? You want your essays to help you and push you forward, or at least say something about you. You don't want them to work against you. This essay, most commonly, and even more so this one, I see kids screw up and it really works against them. They become the primary reasons we throw out applications. Because they're just so, you can tell that they just did it for college, and you can tell that it didn't have any impact and they didn't care. Like somebody said, oh, you should go do this, it's good for college, and people just show up and stand in the corner. You might as well not show it. Because it doesn't help you. And by the way, the bigger problem is not that it doesn't help you, it doesn't help the org. Because the org, there are other people who are trying and doing stuff and making sure and doing all this stuff and could use the help. If you're just standing in the back, you're actually a problem, right? If you're a person that they had to feed snacks to, and you're a person that they had to train, and you're the person that they had to call and email and get to show up, and then if you didn't do anything, you're actually a detriment. And that's what we don't want in college. I don't want to give you a scholarship, have you show up, and all you do is show up to class, kind of try, and you don't contribute to the community. The reason why these two essays exist is because they're trying to build a culture on campuses that people want to come to. Nobody wants to go to a school in which nobody contributes and then everybody's sort of in for themselves and they're going to sit on the sideline. They want to go to where cool stuff is happening, right? And kids are thinking of cool things to do, and they're, I don't know, doing interesting stuff. I think we're looking for those students, and these are the main ways we find them. But don't do these essays if you do not have extracurriculars that have impact. Okay. And again, I'll read some that have impact. Favorite academic subject essay. Okay, that's this one. Academic interest is not I like math. Millions of students like math, right? Academic interest is what you've done inside, and more importantly, many times, outside of the classroom to pursue this interest, right? There's a term called intellectual curiosity. It was coined by a man named John Ryder, who was the provost of Stanford University. He was the head of Stanford admissions for like a decade. He then it's a terrific idea. He then worked at San Francisco University High School here in Pacific Heights, in which he was the head of their college counseling thing. So when you think about what advantages a private school student has, those of you who go to high school and you have a college counselor that you'll see maybe twice for 15 minutes, the kids at San Francisco University High School had the former head of admissions of Stanford University as their college counselor, and they spent about an hour with him during the application period once a week, and then they could schedule other time with him. He read over all of their applications, and consequently, San Francisco University High School has a record number of admissions to Stanford and to the top 30% schools, because he's the guy who ran their whole entire college counseling program, and he trained everybody in it. By the way, he trained these other people who were there, who were former heads of admission for other top elite schools. So these guys, right, came up with this term. Intellectual curiosity is something. It's not that you got A's in all math and you like it because you're good at it. I don't care. By the way, being good at high school math is not. Yeah, right. It's the intellectual curiosity. What did you go and search out? What are you doing on the internet at night? What books are you reading? What lectures are you sneaking yourself into? Are you going to the book passage and seeing author talks? Are you doing things with your friends? Are you volunteering in the Golden Gate Park to do hikes to, like, if you love environmental science, every weekend in the Golden Gate Park they have these volunteer things where they train you which are invasive species in the park, and then you go through the park and you pull them all out in order to preserve the native species in the park, and you create ecosystems in the park. These are the sort of things that you're interested in. Now, here's where things like Lowell come in. Because Lowell knows about intellectual curiosity, because Yuki Kudo used to work there, and Yuki Kudo was the associate head of admissions at Stanford for a little bit, and then went on to owning her own company. But she used to work at Lowell, and she came up with this idea: was we got to show intellectual curiosity. We got to give these kids experiences for which they are pursuing an idea outside of class, right? If you're interested in medicine, then we're by UCSF, so she created that partnership with UCSF, which was great, except everybody did it in exactly the same way, and everybody did the minimum they were required to do, and everybody did it every single year the same. So when we read the applications, and especially the STEM applications out of Lowell, there are only like 5 different things that everybody has done. And so it doesn't actually show intellectual curiosity. It just showed you followed the route in order to check boxes. I'm more interested, that is following the rules. I'm interested in intellectual curiosity. So yesterday, when I went around the room and asked you questions, and I thought, okay, so you're actually looking at the intersection of this and this. You should be looking at this, or you should be reading that, or you should be going and checking this out, or going on the internet and seeing something. Intellectual curiosity. Oppenheimer, what's your opinion? Right? Intellectual curiosity, by the way, if you're sitting there thinking, oh, that's boring, I challenge you to, what are you doing that is so not boring? Right? Why not take a risk and see the film that won the most Oscars of all time? Not all time. Close. And it's highly controversial, and particularly has stake for Asian American community. I would love to read an essay about somebody who likes 20th century military history, who does a critical analysis of Oppenheimer as an Asian American person. I would kill to read that. Right? Do you know how many Barbie essays I read this year? I read a ton of Barbie essays, because the college that I was working for had a question. It's about talk about a a performance, a movie, a book, or something that you've read or have come in contact with that had impact on you and why. And I read a ton of Barbie essays. Now, oh, by the way, do you know what the number one subject we read on that essay is? What would be the number one thing that I have to read for those? Just so you get a sense of how the nation is. Take a guess. Book, presentation, art exhibit, or movie. What would be the one thing I read the most about? Anybody? The Bible. Yeah. We're looking nationally, right? It's not just San Francisco and Chinatown. Look at all those red states, all those people that voted for Trump, all those other places, all the evangelical states, all the entire South. I read a ton of essays on the impact of the Bible on people's lives. Which is lucky that I have a minor in comparative world religion because I kind of get it. I get it. Well, certain ones I like better than others. Favorite book too, for a long time I read a lot of Harry Potter essays. Oh, I read a lot of except for one Harry Potter, there are 3 Harry Potter essays I liked. One was that Harry Potter, despite the fact that it's written by a woman who's anti-trans, is incredibly queer. Great essay. Another essay I read was about Cho Chang, about how this is like a random, like, has both a Korean and Chinese name. It's just sort of random, only Asian person in the entire Harry Potter universe, and is also characteristically, stereotypically like a villain by being sneaky and double-crossing somebody, and how that is part of an Asian sort of trope, villain trope. I thought that was really good. And the last one I read about is drugs. Drug culture in Harry Potter. I thought that was interesting because the person was interested in being an addiction specialist. It was actually a really great essay. It was a kid who had lost both of their parents to the fentanyl epidemic, and they were from Appalachia, and they're called fentanyl orphan. They just don't have parents because they both died of overdoses, and they were very interested in addiction science and becoming an addiction doctor, and wrote an essay about the first time that they understood about drug culture, how there's a culture of drugs, not just something that's happening in my house and it sucks. Is when they read Harry Potter and how literature enabled them to understand something that's happening in the world. And to escape into magical thinking, which the book Magical Thinking and an exploration of drug culture through Harry Potter had direct quotes from the book that had analysis. It was a very literary criticism, but incredibly personal. Terrific essay. That essay was so good that we read, the kid applied to all the Ivy Leagues, and once we read it in one, we started calling each other and talking. The kid went to Yale. Made me mad. This is close to getting it. There's some kids that get really close to getting it. Okay, so the reason why we have these questions and things like favorite academic subject, again, this is a place where we can eliminate students. These essays are not meant to keep you; they're meant to eliminate you. Right? We're never looking for reasons to keep people. We're always looking to eliminate them because we have way more than we can take. Right? So this is how it happens. The academic subject essay is like, think about an academic subject that inspires you, describe how you furthered this interest inside and outside of the classroom. Most of the time, it's like, I took biology freshman year, and then I love science, and I'm interested in STEM. I took biology freshman year, I took chemistry sophomore year, I took physics in my junior year, and now I'm taking AP environmental science. Every year I've earned A grades in these, and I've really enjoyed what I've learned. Great. I'm on it. Okay. And because everybody's done that. That's just saying, I like dessert because dessert tastes good. I'm like, okay. Thank you. Next. Okay. So, how do we look at this? Make the subject complex. Be very specific, right? I love literature because it has changed my life. and then give me a list of books